After the final whistle. Gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Welcome back to Off the Ball. The Festival of Football will conclude this weekend. A Europa League final tomorrow evening between Inter and Sevilla. And then we look forward to a heavyweight battle in the Champions League final on Sunday. It is the first time since, I think it's 2004, the two teams who are the current champions of their country will meet in the final. That's how long it has been since this has happened. But PSG, who have dominated French football in recent years, 4 trebles in the last 7 seasons, up against the Bayern Munich team who've won the last 8 Bundesliga titles in a row. Both teams have been free scoring in the quarters and semi-finals of the competition. And we'll have those finals tomorrow night, the Europa League final in Cologne. And on Sunday, it is Lisbon for the final between PSG and Bayern Munich. Plenty else happening too. Manchester United dumped out in the semi-finals of the Europa League by Sevilla. Barcelona, after their 8-2 defeat against Bayern Munich, have ditched Kiki Setien and have put Ronald Koeman in charge for next season, but very much up in the air whether Leo Messi will be staying to be part of Koeman's rebuild project at the Nou Camp. To discuss all this and Man City's defeat against Lyon as well, we're joined by Republic of Ireland legend Johnny Giles. Johnny, how are things?
Okay, well...
a lot to talk about in terms of the football over the last few weeks, but have you actually enjoyed this, John, having effectively 3 weeks of night-on-night football with the way things have worked out with the Europa League and Champions League? It's almost felt like we didn't get a European Championships this summer, but it's felt like a kind of a major tournament happening over the last few weeks.
I enjoyed it, Will. Yeah, it was better than I expected it to be. I thought the tempo of the games were good, despite the fact there was no crowd there. And it's not easy for players, as we know. Well, I'm sure. I've never really played in front of a crowd or a non-crowd like that. But it's unusual, to say the least. But I thought they did exceptionally well. All of the players, all of the teams in it. Yeah,
the two teams who've got to this Champions League final on Sunday have been the two form teams in the knockout stages. I might ask you about PSG first, because they booked their place in the final with what was a pretty commanding performance the other night against RB Leipzig. They got the job done pretty easily, booked their place into Sunday's final, and now after spending all of this money, John, PSG can finally look forward to a European Cup final for the first time.
Yeah, it's a long time coming for them, Will, as we know, but unusual circumstances, but they've done their stuff. I think they deserve to be in the final.
I know you were impressed by Neymar when we spoke last week. He got into positions but didn't quite score in the quarter-final. Again, in the semi-final, he was maybe unlucky with some of the chances that he created for himself. But I thought he was really good in that central free role. They moved Mbappe over to the wing to give him a bit of space. And I thought Neymar was very effective through the middle last week.
Yeah, well, I must say, I've never been a fan of Neymar's, Will. I thought he was a bit of a showman, not really committed to the team. But I must say in these matches, he's surprised me in a very pleasant way. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. And you just mentioned it there. I mean, when he was playing for Barcelona, that was Suarez and Messi, he was playing more or less on the left wing. And when you're playing on the wing for whoever it is, on the right wing or left wing, you're dependent on other people to get the ball out to you. You can't do anything without the supply of the ball. Now that he's moved into the middle, actually, when you're in that position in the middle, you can go to any position, right or left, wherever you're capable of getting the ball, which he's done. And it's really freed him, in my opinion. Now, his attitude is a lot better, but I think that could be one of the main reasons. When he's getting it now, he's got time, got to be on the right side of the pitch, in the middle of the pitch, and he can beat players much better than I thought he could. So I thought the 2 matches he played, he had one match there, he got through, but missed two chances. But he made them for himself. His dribbling was brilliant, and he just didn't finish off. But in the last match there, now he played again, was against Leipzig. He was very, very good again. So I thought Bayern Munich would run away with it, but I still think they'll win. Bayern Munich will. But if Neymar and Mbappe do the stuff, it could be a surprise.
Yeah, I was just thinking, watching that semi-final and the way that Neymar played, when they got into a commanding position, PSG, they were making sure that they weren't going to let Leipzig back into it. And Neymar was more than happy to drift a little bit deeper, keep the ball, take a few touches, draw some fouls. He won the foul for the goal when Di Maria put it in for the header from Marquinhos. Neymar did a lot of good work away from the goal too. When he drifted, he actually was quite effective coming out the field too.
Yeah. I didn't think he was as good at beating people as I've seen him in the last couple of matches, Will. But there again, the only time I've really seen him, has been on whether it be for Brazil or Barcelona when he was there, was playing more or less as a left winger. And you're restricted to do what's needed to be done with the ability he has. It's like putting Messi out in the right wing or the left wing, and he's dependent for the ball for people to get the ball out to him. He wouldn't be half the player, whereas Messi, again, is a genius, as we know. But he can drift in the middle of the field, go right or left, and he can't be marked quite as easily as being stuck on the right wing or left wing as Neymar has. So he's the coach. I think it's only this season that I've seen him do it. It's definitely been, I think, a masterstroke in putting him in that position. In other words, I think what he said to him, look, you've got a free role. You go wherever the ball is, or wherever you're going to get the ball. And that's what he's done. But some of his dribbling down the middle of the pitch and beating players has been fantastic.
Also, he has this opportunity, John. I know when he moved to Paris Saint-Germain back in 2016-17, they gave him a boatload of money to make the transfer to Paris, and that was obviously part of the motivation. But he said, without running Messi down in any way, that he wanted to be his own man and his own star. He felt he had to step out of Messi's shadow. If he can lead this PSG team to a Champions League final victory against Bayern Munich this weekend, Neymar will have gone a long way to have done that.
Yeah, well, I can understand exactly where he's coming from, because when you're playing with Messi, and indeed Suarez, I mean, that's the position he obviously wants to play in, and he couldn't do it. He had to go along with what needed to be done, which was to play him mostly on the left wing. Now, I never saw him playing down the middle before, Will, because he played in that position with Paris Saint-Germain as well. When he went there, he didn't play in a free role as Messi has. Now, this might be a coach now that believes that is the best position for him, and I'm sure he believes it himself, because there's nothing worse than having the ability he has, and to be stuck on one wing or the other, depending on other people to get the ball out to you. Because if they're not doing the stuff, you don't get the ball. Whereas now when he's playing in the middle of the field, he can go and get after the ball himself and do it on his own. And that's exactly what he's doing. And it's huge for them. It really, really is huge. And I must say now, I've been converted to him after many years of thinking he was a waste of time, his attitude was bad, and all the various things that he could have been doing and didn't do. But in the last few matches I've seen him play, he definitely has lived up to the reputation that he has, had.
I get the feeling, John, given how well PSG played in that semi-final, that Thomas Tuchel will possibly stick with the same forward line and play Di Maria off Neymar through the middle and maybe Mbappe moving to the right and switching around. There are three very pacey attackers if he goes for that front three. The one thing about Bayern Munich, they've scored 18 goals to 3 in these games against Chelsea, Lyon and Barcelona. But they have left a lot of space and coughed up chances against teams who can counter-attack with pace. The one thing about PSG, having Mbappe and Neymar particularly running at a defence, they will get some chances this Sunday. Yeah,
it's one thing that I'm very, very surprised about Bayern Munich. They play now what's considered a high line in the modern game, Will. In my day, it was called the offside trap, and I think it's deadly. I mean, the other night, they could have lost 2 goals in the match against... who did they play?
Lyon probably should have been 2 up, John. They missed 2 really good chances before Gnabry scored for Bayern.
Yeah, and Memphis date to pay, wasn't it? And I wrote the names down today. 2 players that were through. I mean, that was before they scored. Well, the other night, 2 great chances, and they have given up chances because they're playing this running out when the team have the ball, and if Neymar and these guys get at him, as you say, Mbappe, they could do it. They could do it because they're very, very good, Bayern Munich. They have been the best team in it. I think they probably will do it. But if they do what they did the other day against these players who are quick, they could pay a price. So we can watch out for that.
Yeah,
well, definitely. I think they've been a really, really top team, Bayern Munich. But they have this fault. And actually, in the previous match as well, they lost a couple of chances that way. So it's. I can't understand why they're doing it. There's no need to do it, but they're playing this sort of offside trap that's allowing players to get through. And I think obviously Paris Saint-Germain will have watched them. The coach will have watched them, and they might they might take advantage of that. So they've got to be very, very careful.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing particularly the foot race that might happen if Mbappe runs against Alphonso Davies, two of the fastest players in Europe, potentially down that right-hand side of the PSG attack. John, when it comes to Bayern Munich, I mentioned Serge Gnabry, who scored that remarkable goal. It almost looked like Ian Robin when he would have played for Bayern Munich a few years ago. Serge Gnabry, formerly of Arsenal, formerly of West Brom, has been incredible this season. He put Spurs to the sword in the group stages of the competition. He scored 9 goals in 9 matches now in the Champions League, and 2 remarkable goals scored by him on the other night against Lyon as well.
Very, very good. Like when you consider, it shows you what can happen in football, Will, because he was at Arsenal, as we know, he wasn't doing very well, and he went to Stoke with Tony Pulis. Oh, sorry, West Brom, I think it was it with Tony Pulis?
Yeah, it was West Brom, yeah.
And I think he got 12 minutes. I just read in the paper today, 12 minutes at the club, and Tony Pulis sent him back early to Arsenal. He was out, and he's supposed to be there for a season on loan. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you can miss players like the ability that these players have. Okay, they might be having a bad time, but when you see the natural talent this fella has, he hasn't just got this overnight, Will. You know, he's always had this talent, but he's obviously, whatever it might be. But I think Tony Pulis or Arsenal should have been able to spot the talent that he had and work on it and get to him, get into his head, because he's a fantastic player, absolutely fantastic.
I'd say Arsenal are kicking themselves because Serge Gnabry seems perfectly suited for the Premier League. He's fast, a good technical footballer. Arsenal will pay an awful lot of money to try and get him back now at this stage. 5 million seems to have been a huge mistake when they let him go. Yeah,
it was a mistake. It was definitely a mistake. And it can happen in a club. It shouldn't happen. When you see somebody with his ability, sometimes lads don't settle down. They might be a bit lonely, homesick, all the various things, Will, that you have to look at their ability first and say, well, he has the ability. We have to go do whatever is possible to keep this lad and encourage him and give him a year, give him 2 years even, to bring it out in him, you know. And that obviously didn't happen. And I think Tony Pulis obviously was very harsh on him in terms of he got 12 minutes and didn't keep him, sent him back early. So he obviously didn't spot what I think could have been or should have been obvious with the players, because you get a lot of players with ability like he has, not playing well, not doing it, but they have it, and that's what good coaches and good managers, in my opinion, get the best out of them, and that didn't happen. Now, when he's gone to Germany, whoever looked after him there is getting the best out of him, that's for sure.
Well, Robert Lewandowski, John, is on this remarkable season. He is the hot striker in Europe this year. He's the top scorer in the Champions League. 2 more and he would beat Ronaldo's record for a single season, which is 17. He scored in his last 9 Champions League fixtures. He's got 15 goals so far in the competition this year, 55 for the season. Yeah. As number 9s go, is Robert Lewandowski right up there in terms of the number 9s you've seen over the years, John?
Definitely. And I think he's got better in the last 12 months. Since the last time I saw him, he's got better, which the really top-class players do. I don't know what, he's about, 28, 29, 30 now?
Yeah, he's getting on at this stage. But I think even when he was never the most pacey player anyway, but even when his pace is gone, a striker who has the brains can make good movement. They don't have to worry about pace. Yeah, well, I don't think his pace is, I don't think he's ever been particularly pacey. I think he's been pacey enough to get away from defenders. But what you find with those lads, with players, 30 should be, in my opinion, the peak of their careers. They have the experience behind them. They have the will to do it. And I think what's happened there now, I don't know what goes on at Bayern Munich, but Hansel Flick is the manager, isn't he? Yeah,
He's just come in. He just come in, didn't he? He didn't come in during the season.
He did, yeah. He took over halfway through, John, for Kovac. He got the job on a kind of a temporary basis first, and then Bayern Munich played so well that this spring they decided they were going to make it permanent. They've been excellent since he took over. It's
been brilliant. He has revitalised, if that's the right word, what I've seen of that team. This is a team now playing when they don't have the ball particularly, getting after the opposition, things they weren't doing before this fella came in. So this guy's done a big, big job, and I think that's what's making them so successful. They obviously had the ability, but it's getting the hard work out of them and playing for each other, which they're doing, that this guy has brought in. And he's done a really, really top-class job. And he's made him into a team that was okay, but into a real bit like Liverpool. with Klopp. You know, when they haven't got the ball, everybody's working hard. They're working for each other. They're doing their stuff. So it's only this thing that I mentioned before, that the pulling out, coming out from the back was bad. But apart from everything else, apart from that, I think he's done everything else brilliantly. He's revitalised that team in a big way. A big way.
It says a lot about managers as well, John, when they can come in and actually have an effect like that. Because it's not like Hansi Flick has made major changes in personnel and signed a whole load of players. No. He comes in midstream and he actually changes the philosophy of how they play back more towards how Bayern Munich were playing previously. I think this is the best Bayern Munich have been since they won the competition in 2013.
Yeah.
It shows remarkably what a difference a manager can actually make.
Yeah, it's not so much having them playing in a different way. It's getting this... if football is made up of a million little things, well, you know, fellas say, should be getting back, it's not getting back. And if that goes through the team, then if you see one person doing it and they get away with it, then other people will do it. Now, I'm only making that as a minor point. Maybe fullbacks going on the overlap, getting the freedom to do it. Like, football is made up of a million different things. And it's not the way, this is the way we're going to play. You know, what he says is, in my opinion, when we have the ball, we'll be as constructive as we can. We haven't got it. Everybody is obliged to get it back. They're the basic things in football. And they're quite simple in many ways. But getting the players to do it is a different thing altogether. Because some managers get too complicated in what they want from the players. I've seen that happen a lot of times. But this guy, his attitude is, when we have the ball, and that's what I say most about them than anything else, like Manchester City at their best, getting the ball back, Liverpool at their best, getting the ball back when they have it. And then the players that can play, it doesn't stop them from playing. They actually help each other. You get a team spirit going, and that's what he's done. So when I saw Bayern Munich playing before, they weren't chasing the ball down like they should have been doing. And if one person's not doing it, then the next person won't do it. Then it goes right to the team. Where you get one to do it, you get everybody to do it. And that's what they've done.
And when it comes to that attitude and application as well, John, we saw that with their opposition, Barcelona, last Friday. You know, Bayern Munich win the game 8-2. There's not a huge difference in terms of the quality of players on either side. But even when Bayern Munich were 3 and 4 goals up, they were still chasing back. They were still pressing. While Barcelona's midfielders and their wingers, and Messi was guilty of this too, just watched as Bayern Munich ran at them at different times. There was such a difference in the attitude of the two teams. Yeah, well,
that's down to the coach. That's definitely, well, he's gone now with Barcelona, you know, and you could tell on the pitch that Messi, like, we don't know what he's saying to the players or what he's saying to Messi or anybody else, but it's the approach. It's what is he concentrating on? He's probably concentrating on things that don't mean as much to the players as they should do. So it can get complicated of what he might be saying to Messi now. Instead of going up there, I want you to go over here, and saying that to various players, and players go, what's this all about? You know, I'm only saying what can happen. I don't know what happened to Barcelona, Will, but that's the type of thing that happens. Like the players say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So you don't get a response from them, you know. And that's what I think. And he's out. He's out now. And Barcelona, to be fair, they're in a mess, Will. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot to be done. I see the Koeman has gone in now, but the next president, or well, somebody appears to be the next president. I just wrote his name down. Victor Font.
Yeah, it was Font. I think he said, John, that no matter what happens, he's hoping to win the elections, which have been pushed back to March of 2021. He said that even if Koeman was to win the treble with Barcelona next season, Xavi is his man, and he will sack Koeman with the first thing he does when he comes in.
Yeah, well, that's nonsense. I mean, that's madness. You know? It's not just it's madness. I mean, say Koeman does do the treble, say he does get them going, and he's proven himself a big success. So this guy just gets rid of him because he doesn't. He thinks he knows better. I mean, it's madness. I mean, this is a new guy coming in. Koeman is only starting. I mean, the first thing he should be saying is, "Good luck to you. Keep going and do the best you can, and keep it. If he wants Xavi there, keep it to himself. I mean, to make it public, it's incredible for the football club that Koeman's coming in as a new coach." And he's saying, no matter what you do, you're going next year if I have my way. It's absolute madness.
Well, Barcelona are an absolute basket case. On that, John, if you're Lionel Messi and you've got to the point now where you're 33 this summer, you've probably got 2 or 3 seasons left at most at your very, very top level. You're possibly going to look to maybe retire in Argentina anyway for your last season or two. Do you stay, John, if you're Lionel Messi and hang around for a rebuild for the next couple of years? Or if you're Leo Messi, would you look for a move away?
In footballing terms, I think you'd have to give the new coach a chance, because we don't know what he's going to do. He might be very, very successful, and that's what he wants. I think there could be financial implications here. Now, I don't know. I read something, I don't know whether it's true or not, that if Lionel Messi finishes his contract with or his time with Barcelona, he gets about 50 million quid.
Not bad. He's had 9 contract extensions, John, would you believe, in 15 years. So as much as we talk about Leo Messi's loyalty, Barcelona have always upped his wages consistently to make sure he stays.
Yeah, and that I think that, well, it made sense to me as an incentive for him to stay, because there's no other good club are going to give him 50 million, I wouldn't think, just to sign for them. So their attitude is, you stay with us until you finish playing and you got a £50 million payoff. Whereas if he leaves, I would imagine, say in the summer, then he's going to lose out on the 50 million.
The only club I can think of that might pay him 50 million might be Man City. We'll be talking about Man City after the break. John is going to stick with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. More confident than United before a Europa League final. Gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Future Proof.
When my wife and I moved into a new house, we decided to celebrate by getting a painting, and we found one we loved by an artist that was showing in the local village. The price was quite expensive, it was €2,000. We managed to negotiate it down to €1,500, and thrilled with ourselves, we loved how it gave colour to the room above the mantelpiece. Until my wife spotted a sticker at the back of the painting, a price tag for €1,000, and all the colour in the room faded to grey. On this week's Future Proof, we talk about the art and science of negotiation. Tune in, it could be worth your while.
Future Proof.
Proudly supported by Science Foundation Ireland.
Saturday from 12.
On News Talk.
At VHI, our health team online is ready to take care of you, which means no waiting for important services like physiotherapy for your aches and pains or speech and language support. And best of all, they are fully covered on all our VHI plans. To book an online appointment right now, search VHI Online Health. Terms and conditions apply. VHI Healthcare DAC, trading as VHI Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to VHI Insurance DAC for health insurance in Ireland.
Picture yourself relaxing in one of Ireland's finest hotels, overlooking breathtaking scenery in the heart of Connemara. Imagine yourself at Ballynahinch Castle, enjoying miles of wonderful trails, brisk walks on local beaches and cycling the Connemara Greenway. Cozy up with dinner in the pub or enjoy a book or board game in front of an open log fire. Surround yourself with space this autumn and book now at ballynahinchcastle.com.
We've got back to school sorted, all under one roof at Dunnes Stores. With great value on fridge fillers like Petit Falou 6-packs, half price. And kids' favourites like Robinson Fruit Shoot 4-packs and selected Kellogg's cereals, also half price. Plus, with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Radio, what's it all about? If you're unemployed, a recent graduate, or just looking to get into radio, Learning Waves could have the answer for you. Learning Waves, along with SkillNet Ireland, are launching another 360 Broadcasting Bootcamp course. This is a real radio course where you'll learn everything you ever wanted to know about radio from people actually working in the industry. It's a part-time course delivered online, one evening per week for 10 weeks. During the course, you'll be provided with a mentor that will help you complete your course project. So if you want to work in radio, now is your chance to learn how. Apply online now at learningwaves.ie. Closing date is August 29th, with the course starting September 16th. This 360 Broadcasting course is free and funded by Learning Waves SkillNet through SkillNet Ireland.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, as obnoxiously passionate about soccer as Frank Lampard after the final whistle. Gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Thursday evening football with John Giles on Off the Ball. John, I mentioned Man City just before we went to the break. Man City crashing out of Europe early again when it seemed they had a golden opportunity to get to a final this year. And I think a lot of the focus has to go back on Pep Guardiola here. He left his creative players on the bench. He puts young Garcia into defence for just his second ever Champions League start and does so in the quarter-final of the Champions League.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the team he picked actually, Will, at all. As you say, he didn't have a creative force in the middle of the field. I mean, he had Bernard Silva out, David Silva, Foden, Mahrez, and he had, is it Gundogan? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, he put Gundogan into midfield kind of as a holding player. And I can't understand it, John, because last year when Man City were excellent, everything went through David Silva, Bernardo Silva, and it freed up De Bruyne not to have to do everything in an attacking sense. And De Bruyne, until they shifted shape a little bit and he got the goal, was having to pick the ball up and had no players around him to actually keep the ball, retain possession. I couldn't believe that he left both Foden and David Silva on the bench. I couldn't,
Will. I totally agree with you there. I just couldn't believe it because there was no creative force at all in the middle of the field. I mean, I think Gundogan is hopeless. I don't know what he does. He doesn't score goals. He doesn't get tackles in. He doesn't make goals. He just got passes from A to B. And he just doing nothing, absolutely nothing. I couldn't believe the team he picked. I must be honest now, I've been a fan of Pep. I don't agree with everything he does, but he's been a very successful man, but I couldn't believe what he did there. So it's like City are in a bad place. Well, there's no doubt about that. You know, I mean, if you look back at the players, the great players, Aguero didn't play. I don't know if he's ever going to play as well again. Company, Fernandinho, David Silva, all gone. You know, that's at least four players that I've mentioned there that were great players for Manchester City. And so far, he definitely hasn't replaced them. So I think City have got a big job on their hands. Now, whether Pep is going to stay or not, we don't know. But if he stays, he's got an awful lot to do, Will. A lot to do.
He'd be disappointed again. He hasn't got to a Champions League final since he's left Barcelona. And things seemed pretty well set up for him this year with the draw that they got, and especially when they knocked out Real Madrid. But I know you weren't convinced by City the week before, even when they beat Real Madrid. They weren't all that impressive. It's interesting, though, within the game itself. I don't know, John, how Raheem Sterling scoops that ball over the bar rather than tapping it in. I can't understand why he went for power as opposed to just flicking it in.
It wasn't so much going for power. It's just lack of concentration. Well, and in my opinion, now I've probably knocked a few over the bar myself like that, but you think it's so easy. That's what happens in football. Well, not just football, anything. I would say that he thought it was so easy. It's just no bother, and you lose concentration. And what I find playing football as I got older, the simpler the pass, the more you have to concentrate. Because if it's a simple pass, you think, this is easy. And I always found I made it a part of my game. The simpler the pass I was going to make, the more I was going to concentrate on, because that's where you lose your concentration. And I think that's what he did. It was so easy, just get it, knock it in the back of the net, that's it. And the concentration's gone only for a split second, and it's enough.
It's been an issue, though, for Raheem Sterling for a while, John. It's just he's fantastic at getting into these positions. His movement puts him in behind defences so often. He gets in for one-on-ones. His composure, though, often lets him down in front of goal. It's probably just that one thing that's the difference between Raheem Sterling being a very, very good player and being an absolute elite top of Europe player. Yeah. Is if Raheem Sterling could finish, he'd be lethal.
Well, it's funny you say that, though, Will. I mean, he scored over 20 goals this year. He scored over 100 goals for Manchester City. I was amazed. I started the stats the other day. Well, I know he scored a lot of goals this season, but if you look at his stats, you think he was a top-class goal scorer.
I guess the argument would be if he could finish, he'd score twice that much.
Well, I'm only making that point because normally when you're talking about a player like that, he's scored about 4 or 5 goals a season. You know, if you look at average record this season alone, at least 20 goals, maybe going up to 30 goals, which is fantastic considering that he's not considered. And I think he could be a better finisher myself. Don't get me wrong, but he'd be scoring a lot more goals than a lot of people think he has.
Okay, well, that's where Man City are at. They probably have a bit of a rebuild. Their city rivals, Manchester United, John, went out. You were kind of predicting this could happen to them against Sevilla at the start of this week. And on Sunday night, Manchester United, I thought it was, first of all, I thought it was a pretty dead performance from them. I know they got the lead and Bruno Fernandes put them ahead. But after that, they seemed to really kind of lack energy in the second half.
I don't think they've played well in this competition. Now, they had a bit, to be fair, the goalkeeper against them for Seville played really, really well, and they could have scored more goals than they did. But they shouldn't have conceded the goal that they scored. And again, that's a state of mind, but everything is a state of mind in football. But I think what happened there, they were so much on top, Will, that when Seville attacked them, I think it does happen with teams, with defenders particularly. In other words, we're on top, we should be scoring, we should be 3 up, and we're not. But there's no way this team is going to score. So you don't defend with the right attitude that you would have if the other team was a good team and you knew they could score at any time. Because if you look at the goal against Manchester United, there was 4 defenders in the box and 1 attacker. And in fact, Williams allowed the fella to cross the ball because the attitude is, well, there's no way these guys are going to score. That's when they do score.
I couldn't believe it. I know Fernandes had a real go at Lindelof after the goal, but it goes right across him. He makes no attempt to try and cut it out or to try and get in the way. He almost got himself out of the way. And then Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who should have been covering it right back,
that's right,
just seemed to switch off. And it allowed Luke de Jong to walk in.
That's the state of mind that happens in teams. That's what I'm trying to... I'm not explaining it very well. That when you're on top as much as they were and creating the chances that they do, the defenders, instead of thinking, right, we've got to be there all the time. Really, this is a dangerous team. They do switch off, and they think, well, this team, that we're very unlucky not to be in front. So there's no way they're going to score. So William allows the cross to come across, and you've got Maguire and Lindelof who go asleep really. And as you say, Wan-Bissaka gets out. He ran out to the penalty spot and allowed there was only one opponent in the box. That's where defenders switch off. Then Fernandes has a go at Lindelof, which is not right either.
It didn't look good, John. It's one of those things you probably wait till the dressing room to have that argument.
You don't, and even in the dressing room, it's the manager should be saying that. Do you know what I mean? Players can take too much on themselves, and he did that on the pitch as well, and everybody could see it. Do you know what I mean? And that shouldn't happen in a team. Because he could go next week and have a nightmare, Fernandes himself, maybe miss a penalty, miss a couple of chances. Does Lindelof go up to him and say, what the hell have you been doing? That's what breeds bad team spirit. You should keep your mouth shut in those situations until you go into the dressing room. Then you maybe have a bit of a go, but even then it's not up to you to have a go. It's up to the manager to say, look, you made a mess of that there. You should have done this or you should have done that. It looks terrible on the pitch. When one player, a colleague, gets onto another colleague, because nobody should know about that. It shouldn't happen.
In the same circumstance, John, what would you have done if that was a Leeds defence who allowed that goal to go in? Would you have gone back and had a shout, or would you have kept them out shut?
No. I had a policy when I was playing never to say anything that the public could see to a colleague.
Yeah.
In other words, don't raise your hand. No, I played with Eddie Gray. I played with some terrific players. And of course you have a go. I mean, I'd have a go at Eddie Gray. Right, but I'd be near him on the pitch. You know, and I said, come on, Eddie, you shouldn't be doing that. But nobody else knew that. Well, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a horrible image to give, because obviously people are watching from the stands, and particularly on TV with all the cameras now, you pick up on that pretty easily.
Actually, well, what a lot of lads do, and it's never right, that, like, I'm only going to, as an example, say Eddie Gray made a mistake. I could have been over Eddie, put my arms up in the air and pointed my finger at him and that. And the crowd could see, oh, look what he's doing there. Right, you can have a go at somebody on the pitch without anybody knowing it except the player, and that's the way it should be. There shouldn't be anything between one colleague and another where you're showing him up because he made a mistake, because there's nothing surer than football. You're going to make a mistake sometime, and you wouldn't like it if one of your colleagues started throwing their arm and making a show of you. It shouldn't happen, and Fernandes shouldn't have done what he did with Lindelof the other day. He should have waited till he got into the dressing room to have a go at him, and in fact it should be the manager that's having a go at him, because next week Fernandes gets a penalty, for example, and misses it, because everybody has a bad game and does something wrong at some stage. Wouldn't it be terrible if Lindelof went up to him and started pointing at him
And he'd be perfectly entitled to do so. John, thanks a million for joining us on this Thursday. We'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, thanks, Will.
Don't forget as well to check out tomorrow morning's OTB Brief podcast, where you get a 5-minute roundup of the day's sports news to set you up for the day. The OTB Brief is brought to you in association with Now TV. Watch Sky Sports on the Now TV Sky Sports Pass. You can watch BT Sport and Premier Sports on the Sports Extra Pass as well. Time for the news.
The Guinness Pro 14 is back, and Air Sport is the only place to watch every game. Join us live from the Aviva Stadium on Saturday night for exclusive coverage of Leinster versus Munster. And again on Sunday for Connacht versus Ulster, as we bring you every game from the return of rugby. Visit airsport.ie to subscribe to watch every game from the Guinness Pro 14. Terms and conditions apply.
News Talk already gives you your daily fix of news and entertainment. But wouldn't you like a little bit more? News Talk Extra is everything you might have missed, plus expert tips, podcasts and competitions, all straight to your inbox. Subscribe now at newstalk.com.